I'm CK, and today we've got a new one from Cubusynth out of Portugal. This is their 4Decay. It's a very narrow, I think it's 4 HP decay unit, and as you can see from the bag, there's probably not a ton to do in here, probably a lot of surface mount pre-installed, but we'll open it up, put it together, see how much fun it is to put together, and see how it sounds. And I hope you enjoy the video. Here's the bag, Cubusynth from São Brastia ao Portel, Portugal. I'm probably mispronouncing that. I apologize. And here's the URL, the QR code for a build guide, which I'm not sure we're going to need, but we'll take a look at it anyway. Let's open the bag up, and I appreciate paper bags for shipping everything because I can recycle them. Here is the front panel and the PCB. See if we can get it open. Double checking that I'm in frame, and I am. Okay, here's the front panel, here's the board. Let's look at the circuit board first. I think I can pull it out. Yep, we've got some, looks like all the components that do the magic are already pre-installed. We've got some LM358s, which are op amps, and they're all op amps, and we've got a bunch of capacitors and resistors, and I don't see any transistors. Got a diode there, and a diode there, and two more diodes there, and another diode there, and another diode there. So we're going to be putting on 1, 2, 3 pots, power connector, LED, 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 and a bunch of jacks. And let's see what this says. It says Decay. And looks like we've got input jacks here and output jacks here and pots. So I'm not quite sure what this does. Oh, we've also got little translucent portholes in the back for the LEDs to shine through. And I don't know what this is. Oh, it looks like it's got one. Well, I'm not sure what that is. RV1. No, I'm really, so if I put this here, and we've got one little hole that goes all the way through, maybe that's a support. I don't know, because do we have one at the bottom? I don't know what it's going to be. We'll find out. Let's look at the components in the bag. And we've got power cable. And here's a spacer, which I think is going to go here between the board and the front panel. That's my assumption. Some Funkaton jacks, some potentiometers, B104s, so that's 1 0 plus 4 more zeros, so they're 100Ks. And it looks like they're all 104s, they are. And the LEDs all look to be green. Let's put them on the LED buddy and see how they look. Again, you should build this kit. It's on my channel. I'll try to remember to put a link to it in the description. I could probably use the card thing up in the corner, but I've never figured that out. Let's see. It's green, 3 volts, 82 ohm inrush resistor. So again, I don't think we need the build guide for this. I will pull, since all the pots are the same value, and all the LEDs are the same color, so this should go together in about 15 minutes. Of course, with me talking, it might be a little longer. You may notice there's no panel nuts for these guys. That's interesting. Is there anything else in the bag? I don't think so. So we won't have any panel nuts on the jacks. I don't think that will kill us, and anyway, I'll probably scrounge some from a module I'm not using and put them on there. So I get the soldering iron heated up, and we'll do a quick put together of this fella. So as I thought, the build guide is pretty simple and straightforward, but it does have pictures, which is nice. So we will just put it all together. And again, because the components are all pretty much similar, we're not going to have a problem. Now, the power connector is not shrouded, so we don't have to worry about putting the notch in the right place. And where's my... I know I have a piece of solder. There we are. Looking for a piece of solder. That's big. That's my thick solder. Where's my thin solder? There we are. I'm going to do one pin. Make sure it's all flat, and it is. So flip my little board over. Put that in there flat. Now, only thing we'll need to be interested in, oops, gosh darn it. Gosh darn it, I forgot to put the top camera on. Back in a second. Okay, now we're back in full operations. So again, because you didn't see it from the top, I put the power connector on here, and again, it's not shrouded, so it doesn't matter pretty much how you put it on. And for the rest, we're doing everything on the front panel. Let's look at the LEDs. They have a square pad for the positive. And they also show a flat side on the circuit board for where the negative side goes, matching the flat side on the LEDs themselves, so that's all easy. Again, all the pots are the same value, so we just click those all in. Come on, click in. The only one I'm at all concerned about would be the one that goes over the power connector, to make sure it doesn't interfere or touch it, even though these are plastic bases, so it won't short it out, but they have plenty of clearance anyway. These are all going on very quickly, as you can see. I think he wants us to... Okay, now we're going to put the standoff on, because this will connect the front panel to the back panel. I mean, to the circuit board. Come on! Don't be silly. I have to get a screwdriver, for crying out loud. Oops! Screwdriver just flew into the garbage can. There we go. And I'm doing the spacer now as they recommend, but also because I know I don't want to turn things sideways once I get the jacks in, because they'll just flop back out again, which is what jacks like to do. Get this one back in again. This one's tough. This one's not quite going. There we go. Now we'll set all the jacks in place. And these jacks here, let me show you here in a second, they share a ground pin. And they've got kind of a doubled pin hole there, which I'm not sure is going to work out real well, but we'll give it a try. Oh yeah, it worked out okay. Except it's always a little bit of a challenge to push the other ground pin back while you're putting this one in. Now everything fell out again. Of course. And it fell out again. Again, jacks are such a pain. Okay, now it's time to put the front panel on to get all these jacks corralled so they're not hopping all around all the time. Okay, there's that, and since we're here and we've got it, we can just take a panel nut and put it in that spacer, and that holds everything together so we can solder everything up. I'm not going to do the LEDs right now. I'm just going to do the other components, and I don't have a good place to put that, but that's okay. I'll do it this way then. Now, one thing we have to be very mindful of, put a little piece of foam there, there are surface mount components all over the place, as you can see, and we want to make sure we don't touch them with our soldering iron, we don't heat them up, we don't accidentally nudge them around. So we'll just go through and solder all this stuff. Okay, so that's the knobs and the jacks all in place and soldered, and they all look good. I'm double checking to make sure I got everything. And I did. Now we're going to do the LEDs. Let me move down a little bit. Now we want to make sure they're kind of positioned right over their little translucent windows. So how I'm going to do that is I'm going to solder one leg in place and then reheat that and adjust the position when I'm ready to do that. And I'm going to do the short leg to do that with, so I can use the longer leg to position, because that just makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, so this one's really cattywampus, so I will reheat that leg again, as I said, and move it around. It's not doing what I wanted. There we go. Here we go. That's behind its little window. This one, and I got to watch out for this resistor here. That's roughly in its position. I'll use a little tool to move it to its final position. And we'll do this one. There we go. Close enough. Actually, it's not, because it popped up a little bit. There we go. And then this one. There we go. I think we're all good. Now I'll do the other pin on each of these. And we'll put the power cable in. There is an indicator on the board where the red stripe should go. So we'll put the red stripe there so the 12 volt and sources are in the right place. And there we go. That was pretty quick. It didn't come with any panel nuts for the jacks, so I'm not going to put them on. I don't think I'll need them. But there's the front, there's the side, the back, the other side, the top, and the bottom. Actually, I am, because look at that. This is flopping around a little bit. I'll go find some panel nuts for the jacks off camera and put them on, but I won't come back for that. We'll put it in the rack and see how it sounds. I decided not to put this in the full rack because it doesn't make sound, it doesn't filter, it doesn't do sequences and that kind of thing. So I decided to just test it on the benchtop with this new benchtop test box I built up with power supply inside, and I picked a couple of things here which are very good for testing stuff and calibrating stuff. So we'll turn that on. And we've got our sequencer running. And I'm going to plug that in to input 1 on the decay. And as you can see here, as this is running, it's running a little bit fast. And you'll see, let me zoom in a little bit more because this is not going to be rolling around. Let me move it over here because I forgot when I edit this I got to put the scope on top of it. So let me see what I'm doing. Sorry for all the moving around. Sorry. So as you can see, as the trigger comes out, I'll go out to the clock out. As you can see, as the clock triggers, the little LEDs are firing off. And because they're all chained together, they're all triggering off this because we don't have anything in the other ones. Now let's see what that looks like. We'll go to the scope and get one out. And as you can see, because I've got, let me get my pointer, because I've got the decay set really low, all the way counterclockwise, it's just little pulses. Now let me stretch that out as I increase the decay. You can see it getting longer. Now I'm going to change this. I'm going to slow down the sequencer quite a bit. Now I'm getting a ghost kick there. I wonder why. But that also means, let me plug in the other scope trace, and I'll plug that into 2 output. And as you can see, and let me pull the voltage down on that one a little bit until they match. Come on. It should be. I'm sorry, I don't know why that got into fine mode. I want it in coarse mode. But I'll get to 2 volts anyway. As you can see, they both trigger at the same time, but they have different decays. I'm going to change 2, which is the magenta line. Now it's got a much longer decay. Actually, it doesn't. Oh, that's because it's firing off too rapidly. Now with a very slow trigger, you can see the magenta line fades out quicker, or actually slower than the positive, than the number 1 line. And now I've taken the magenta line all the way down, so it's just a pink, ping, ping. Let me increase that a little bit. Now we can also, if I have another cable here, I know I have another cable here somewhere, don't I? No, I have to go walk over to my cart. Now I'm going to put a different, I don't think I have a different trigger. I'm sorry. This may trigger it differently. So as you can see, the magenta line is triggering 3 times slower than the yellow line. We can increase the slope on that, or the decay length on that. And that's what this does. It gives you a little envelope. So let's go down to the 3rd output on the magenta line. And we'll stretch that one out too. Now I don't know what that little kick in the number 1 line is. It's interesting. I'm going to go down to 4 so you can see that there. And again, same thing. Short decay until I drag it out. And I'm going to take that trigger out. So now the magenta and the yellow are firing off the same trigger. And I think that should match them pretty much. No, it doesn't, actually. That's interesting. Even though these are both up at the same position, they decay differently. Let me see what 2 and 4 do. Well, that's pretty much the same thing, huh? Interesting. Maybe I can sculpt it down. Yeah, see, now I'm turning 2 back, so now 1 and 2 are close, they're not the same. And again, now they've both got that kick at one point. I'm not real sure what that is. Could be interesting. So you can see how this could be useful for number 1, if we take it real short, like I've just taken and speed up my input. Now we've got number 1 and number 2 both kicking at about the same rate. Oh, I'm sorry, I put it in number 2. So we have number 2 with the very short decay, number 4 with the longer decay, and I can take that all the way down, and now they're both triggering at the same point and at the same voltage. So you can see how you could use this for a filter. You could use it for to feed into a voltage controlled amplifier to give you a peak and decay output. You could use it for a filter input for depth or resonance or something like that. So it's a good little thing to take a trigger signal and make, let me slow this down again, get a trigger signal and then make a slope out of it, a voltage slope out of it, because this is set, we've got peak to peak is 5 volts, so 5 volts to 0 volts, nice little ramp. And again, it's so tiny, it's 4 wide, so that's handy. And again, you can put different triggers in there, so if you had a multi-LFO triggering that, you could have different, the ramps triggering at different times and with different slopes. So that's all good, and that's what this kit does, and that's what this product does. As you saw, very, very easy to put together, would be a great first kit, and then you have a nice little sloping utility module. And I hope you enjoyed the video.